As seen in this opening video, there's no question we take for granted the use of power tools and hand tools. Maybe not all of you have been that close to feeling the potentially horrific effects of misuse, but the fact remains, I would guess most of you have taken these tools for granted. In this training, we're going to cover both hand and power tools. Now, when we talk about hand tools, I'm referring to tools like screwdrivers, hammers, punches, hand saws, chisels, files, snips, axes, knives, box cutters, wrenches, pry bars, hooks, pliers, and the list goes on. The main point of identifying all of these many types is so you can start to visualize the tools you use and either pull from that list I just mentioned or add to it. Now, with portable power tools, we're talking about any type of tool that uses an energy source such as electricity, air, gasoline, or hydraulics. For the sake of lessening the confusion, I'm going to break out the safety standards on hand tools first and then jump into portable power tools a little on down the line. When our team conducts audits at our clients and various facilities, one of the most common hazards and most easily OSHA citable items we find is employees either modifying a hand tool and using it in a way it wasn't designed to be used, or most notably, literally fabricating their own hand tools from materials in their shop. Now, look, I'm not going to argue with you about how sturdy your homemade hammer is and how many years it's outlasted the one from Lowe's. I'm not going to play that game, but what I am going to do is explain the reasons why this is the rule. First off, I think we can all appreciate the need for standards. Whether we're talking about speed limits in school zones, rules during a sporting event, or rules to keep you from becoming disabled at work. These OSHA standards about using tools outside of their intended use or making your own tools are there to keep you safe. What you have to remember is that every tool is required to go through a certification process that outlines its intended use, as well as the various loads it can take, pressure it can handle, designed impact, proper grips to prevent slipping, ergonomic shape and size, and none of these are being properly monitored if they haven't been certified for particular use. In other words, if they're homemade, they are not in compliance, and the risk of the tool breaking, shattering, or splintering is much higher, and therefore so is the risk of you getting injured. So stick with the standards and use approved tools only. Now, this leads me to another point. Make sure you're choosing a tool that is ergonomically correct. When you're working with tools all day, there's definitely a strain being placed upon your joints, your tendons, and your muscles. Depending on the duration you use a particular tool, it will make that choice matter even more. Obviously, the longer you're using a tool, the more important it is to choose one with the correct size, shape, and material for both the job being done and the size of your hand. So, as seen here, if you try using these little tiny pliers all day, your hand, wrist, and forearm are going to be screaming. And let me ask you, why is that? Well, though the use of tools requires repetitive motion, having the right size and shape of tool will help eliminate the worry for repetitive motion injuries and musculoskeletal disorders. So, pick the right tool for the job. Make sure you're using it for its designed purpose, meaning don't use a wrench as a hammer nor a screwdriver as a chisel. And also remember that self-fabricated tools are not allowed. Also, please ensure you're inspecting the tools you do have. If a hammer head is loose or the handle is splintering, what time is it? Yes, it's time to get a new tool. There are far too many preventable injuries that occur each year as a result of poor inspection and keeping broken tools around longer than they should. Set a high standard with your hand tools, and just like we do with broken power tools, tag them out of service until they can be either fixed or replaced. Now, what I want you to do right now is sit back, relax a little, well, not too much. There's no falling asleep allowed in my trainings, but I do want you to watch the video of a new employee trying to use a power tool as a hand tool. What I'd like you to do after you watch this video is talk with your teammates about what allowed this employee to operate this way. How would you correct it? And also any other safety hazards you might find in this video. 3, 2, 1, go.
Mark, wat doe je?
Wat ben je raken?
Ben je wat doen, man?
Wat doe je raken?
Hé, nu!
Ja?
Hé, dat knopje, daar aan de... Ja, dat knopje. Lekker, Mark! Hé, aanzetten, dat knopje aanduwen. Ja! Hé, wat ben je nou? Ja!
So yes, we can all mock the ignorance being portrayed here, but the reality is, the ignorance can be directly attributed to the owners and supervisors of this business. The fact of the matter is, you can't know what you don't know. Like this employee, we see many new hires ready and eager to work hard. They show up on the job with a desire to prove their worth. But as this video shows, they also show up on the job with a lack of knowledge on how to work safely and even basic training on how to work the tools and equipment, including, as we see here, the safe use of a ladder, nor any appropriate PPE for the rocks and debris that are already flying out around his eyes. So, look, you have to take the time to ensure everyone is using the right tool for the job, and most importantly, that they know how to use that tool, no matter if you're union or not, and they come prepared or not. It's your job to check. So, quickly, I want to run through some examples we see when it comes to the improper use of hand tools. This list isn't meant to be an end-all be-all, because at the end of the day, you're the experts at your job site, and it's up to you to ensure you're creating an environment of learning and growing. The good news is, if you're watching this video, you're already on the right path, so keep it up. Okay, so when we talk about job sites, one of the most common things we see are employees that forget they have a perfectly good tool belt and attempt to climb ladders and scaffolds with those tools in their hands. This is a no-no for obvious reasons that are fully backed up by workers' compensation and injury stats on traumatic fall injuries, broken bones, and long stints away from the workplace trying to heal up and go get back to supporting yourself and your family. Also, once you're at a safe working height, I want you to realize that your portable hand and power tools are now an object that can kill those below. This is why you have controlled access zones marked out underneath your operations, and you're also following other related regulations like the use of toe boards on scaffolds and rooftops. All right, now moving into more iron worker specific tools, I want to run through some common ones that we see while auditing. Iron workers normally carry their hand tools on their belt or in a pouch on their belt. Load your belt so that it doesn't hinder your movements. Balance the tools on the belt so one side is not loaded more than the other. Place commonly used tools such as a spud wrench on your dominant side, i.e. on your right side if you are right-handed. Don't carry tools by slipping them under your belt, and make sure that your tools are secure and can't fall. When working with a wrench, there's always the hazard that it can slip off the work or that the object may suddenly turn free. There's also the chance that the wrench or bolt will break. Always brace yourself so you don't lose your balance or be injured. Inspect your wrenches for flaws that could cause them to slip. The spud wrench is a very common wrench. It should have a round tapered handle forged at an angle to provide ample clearance for the hand, yet keep the head in proper position for maximum power. The tapered end is used for aligning bolt holes in adjacent members. Spud wrenches are available in different sizes, so it's important you know the size of bolt being used before beginning work. Now, don't use a shim to make a wrench fit. Always grip the wrench so you won't be injured if it slips. Discard any damaged box or open end wrench. Don't try to repair a wrench with rounded or damaged points on the box end or worn or spread jaws on the open end. Wrenches are made from tempered steel and should not be welded. Face an adjustable wrench forward and turn the wrench so pressure is against the permanent jaw. Always pull on a wrench toward your torso. This will reduce the chance of finger injuries if the wrench slips. Handle stops on channel locks or pliers will prevent pinching injuries to the hand and fingers. And never overload a wrench by using a pipe extension on the handle or by striking the handle with a hammer. This can weaken the metal of the wrench and cause the tool to break. Heavy-duty box wrenches with extra long handles and hammer or striking face wrenches are available for these jobs. The striking face wrench with 12-point box openings are designed for striking with a ball peen or sledgehammer. Both offset and straight styles are available, but the straight type is safer. A socket wrench set offers a multitude of options in both the types and size of the sockets and the variety of driver available for them, including the ratchet, universal speeder, and their many extensions and adapters. When using adapters and adapting down in size, be careful not to over-torque a smaller socket and fastener with a larger driver. Always use the correct size of socket and make sure it fits snugly. An oversized or sloppy fit can lead the wrench to slip and injure you, as well as causing wear to both the socket and the fastener. Never use hand sockets on a power drive or impact wrench. Hand sockets normally have a bright finish, while power and impact sockets usually have a dull finish and usually have thicker walls. Hickey bars are used to position steel for connection or while shaking out or sorting steel. They provide the extra leverage required for a worker to move steel members which are heavy and awkward. When using a Hickey bar, if you do at all, inspect it before using it. Position your feet and body so that you won't lose your balance. Avoid pinch points and ensure that there's enough clearance for the member to move. Stand to the side and turn the beam away from you. A drift pin is a tool tapered at one or both ends, which is used to align holes before connecting. Bull pins are at one end with a striking head on the other. Using this type of drift pin reduces the chance of hand injury. Don't use the tool if a mushroom head develops. If you hit a mushroom head, particles can fly off. Now, when we talk about guarding, or the lack thereof, one of the most common excuses we hear is that the guard is somehow impeding the operation at hand. Now look, this can definitely be the case, but what most employees don't do is look for a safer and more effective way to do the job. They simply jump into the task and hope that what they're doing won't end up causing an injury. And this is also important because they've been there before, did the same thing, and probably didn't get hurt, so why not do it again? It worked before, why won't it work again? You and I both know this is a really scary place to live life in the workplace when you're literally surrounded by serious hazards all the time. Oftentimes, this comes about as a direct result of number one, not pre-planning the project, which includes not matching the materials or the job function with the appropriate tools to be used. And number two, tricking yourself into believing that getting the job done is more important than your hand, fingers, arm, femoral artery, abdomen, eyesight, face, livelihood, and the list of possible injuries and impact goes on. When it comes to saws, grinders, pneumatic tools, powder actuated tools, and jacks, there's a common theme that runs true with all of them. PPE is almost always required when using these tools. The specific type of PPE will be determined by the PPE hazard assessment you conduct for each tool, just like we discussed in the beginning of this training with hand tools. But most are going to require eyeglasses, face shields, gloves, and hearing protection. But like we do with hand tools, I want to run through a few common tools and the common safety hazards that we see when auditing facilities. First off, any and every tool that utilizes electricity must be kept away from wet and damp areas. This includes the places they're stored and operated in. Also, be mindful of cords and extension cords attached to these tools. They should be kept away from the path of heavy machinery and never be placed along wet ground. They should also be unplugged or turned off when not in use, so there's no accidental startup. Grinders are a super common tool in most of the places and job sites we work in, especially bench grinders and angle grinders. We see a bunch with guards removed, and we've actually seen several clients have issues with discs that were bought in bulk from China that broke often. Also, on bench grinders, we see several that have the guards removed, that work rest isn't adjusted to within 1/8 of an inch of the wheel, and the tongue isn't adjusted to within 1/4 inch of the wheel. All common citations from OSHA and all issues that pose serious amputation hazards. Next, pneumatic or air-powered tools are also super common. One of the most common tools we see in the category is a nail gun. What happens when people get a nail gun in their hands? They often forget how quickly things can turn ugly. Again, PPE is a must, and hand and body part placement is critical, and so is teammate placement. If there's any point a teammate could be in the line of fire, there must be protected features added, such as a shield or screen. Secondly, you're not Rambo, and your nail gun isn't designed for horseplay. Never. I repeat, never mess around with these types of tools. Take them seriously and treat them like actual weapons, because guess what? They are actual weapons if you use them in that fashion. And by the way, this is also true of powder actuated tools. The same rules apply. Also, back to pneumatic tools. Ensure you have regulators on the air pressure so you can manually control the pressure you're dealing with. When you're using air pressure for cleaning parts and work areas, always remember that the pressure coming out of the gun is never to exceed 30 psi. For many of you, this means you need to add a safety tip at the end of your gun so the air can be displaced if it was ever held to your skin. What this does is help eliminate fragments being blown into your eyes, as well as minimize injection injuries. We note these in reports often, and it's low-hanging fruit for OSHA to cite as well. When we're talking about some hydraulic tools like jacks and jack stands, one of the main things we want you to know is make sure you have the capacity clearly listed on the jack itself. This way, every employee working with them has been clearly communicated to regarding the load limits and what they can handle. Also, ensure the area you're using them in is level and solid. Don't be trying to build a firm foundation on sand or mud. And I mean that in life too. You're welcome. All right, we obviously can't cover every single hand or power tool you all use, but what I've given you today is more than enough knowledge on inspecting the items you use, ensuring a PPE assessment has been done, and how to effectively train every single operator that walks on site to your location. Never take these tools for granted and appreciate what they can do for you. For the Best Go Safety team, I'm Jake Wolfenden, and I will see you in the next training. Have an awesome day.